Welcome back, everybody. Cliff again with another episode of our boot camp for Off the Line by Mike Nagel and Relative Range Games. Sorry for the little delay. Life cropped up again. It has a habit of doing that. I had a request to try to get my closed captioning into German, and I'm going to work on that. I've got to figure out how to do it. I'll give it my best shot. In the meantime, you'll have to suffer with my English. Today, we're going to move into some of the grammar of this game. The more or less core of playing the game is the sequence of play. We're going to run through the core sequence of play and talk about what orders are in this game and how they are implemented. So, I've thrown up a map on my Vassal module here from Greg Amos, which we're working on. And I've thrown up a squad. Let's pretend that we're doing the first scenario. This is not the map for the first scenario. This is from the British expansion. Well, let's pretend we're playing the first scenario. I pulled out soldiers 1 through 12 for the Americans. And we'll walk through our... Let's go here. Sequence of play. The sequence of play is also on the charts on the back of the big player aid. Let's magnify this a bunch. There's a sequence of play on the back that has 7 steps. I break it out into a few more steps just to make sure that it is clear, because it's important to learn the sequence of play. This is not as complicated as Field of Fire, where it's a whole page of sequence of play. It's very important to play that in order too. We'll just run through this with my copy. I have 8 steps. Step 1 is we have to draw cards. We have action cards from the deck in our hand. They're going to play some important roles, and we have to determine first what our hand size is. The hand size is the leadership value of your unpinned leaders plus 1. So in this case, we've got Sergeant Johnson here with 3. He's our squad leader with the yellow hexagon. And we've got Corporal Butler with 2 in a white hex. He's our assistant squad leader with 2. So our hand size here initially would be 3 plus 2 plus 1 is 6. The least you can have is 1. At the beginning of the game, you've not played any cards before, so you're required to draw your full hand size. So we draw 6 cards. 6 cards. Action deck. US hand. I'm going to have a hand of 6 cards. Let's bring that down again. There, 6 cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I want a 0 card for demonstration purposes, so I'm just going to discard that one and take a 0 card. These will be numbers from 0 to 6. Those are the order numbers. Now, my hand size is 6. If Butler, for instance, was pinned, then my hand size would be 3. Or if Butler was eliminated somehow, he routed, got killed, exited the map, I would be 3 plus 1 is 4, hand size of 4. I hope I said 4 before. 3 plus 1 is 4. During play, you'll probably play some of these cards. So let's say during a turn, you've played 3 of these cards out. I'm just going to move them over here for now. And you only have 3 left. You're starting a new turn. Your hand size would be still 3 plus 2 plus 1 is 6. You have 3 in your hand, so you can draw. But you do not replenish. You only draw 1. If you played any cards in the previous turn, you only draw a single card. So if you play multiple cards, you're going to slowly winnow your hand down. This drawing one card is optional at that point. You can choose to or not. Most times you would want to. Why wouldn't you want to? Well, if you've drawn down to the point where you have no cards left in your hand, you've used them all during your turn, and you're coming up to the next turn, you can, if you wish, draw one card, and that's going to be the one card you have to play with. Or you can elect not to and leave your hand empty, which will have implications, which we'll get to in a sec in our sequence of play. So, initially, you draw your hand size. You're going to be playing cards. At the beginning of each turn, first thing you do is determine hand size and draw cards. So we draw cards. We got our hand size, unpin leadership +1. If holding no cards, draw cards to hand size. If you start a turn and you've not played any cards in the previous turn, you can draw to your full hand size. Otherwise, you could only draw one. Then we determine initiative. Initiative is based on your elan. So let's go to scenario 1. Elan for Germans is 5. Elan for the Americans is 4. And who has initiative to start? I believe it is the Germans, if I'm not mistaken. Germans hold initiative at start. So the Germans on their reference card would have to have their initiative. Their initiative would be on 1 on their status track. They have the initiative. But we're playing with the Americans. So our Americans don't have initiative. So the Germans would draw for their initiative first. Alana 5. So go to the action deck. Draw a card. Look at 5. The number is 5. Plus, they have initiative. They have to add that 1 value because it was on 1. That makes their value 6. The Americans now draw on the 4 column. We're 4. 4 is less than 6. The Americans get the initiative. So the German would take his initiative counter off. We would go to our American reference card and we would put our American initiative marker on our 1. Now we have the initiative. It is also possible for the person with initiative, if they'd wished, if the German had wished, he could have looked at his hand. Let's say this was his hand, and he knew he was going to have to use the 5 column. He could have picked a card that had a low number in it on the 5 column to play instead. So if he'd have played Stiff Breeze here with a 1, he would have played 1 plus 1 is 2, but he would have played a card. And that would be 1 less card in his deck. He'd have to discard that. So it'd just be discarded. Because he played it for initiative, he would have won initiative. But because he played that, his initiative would have gone up by 1. Every time you play a card to maintain initiative, it goes up by 1. As soon as you lose initiative, it gets dumped off, and it goes to the other guy's card. It's early in the game. The German didn't want to do that, so he just moved his initiative down. The American now has initiative. So we determined our initiative. Now we declare the number of orders. We bid for that. Using our orders cards, you may play 1 or more orders cards that add up to 6 or less. You cannot play for more than 6 orders. So I couldn't put out 3, 2, and 3. That'd be 8. I could put out 3 and 3 and play for 6, play 2 cards, or I could play 1 card. You cannot play a 0 card in that combination. So let's say I want to play 4 orders. I can do a 3 and a 2, and I'm going to have 4 orders this turn. Those 2 would be discarded. And I'll have 4 orders to play, and I would go to my reference card, and I would get my piece for the Americans' orders. And I'd have 4 orders to give. Alright. That gets me back to, what if I had left my hand empty? What if I had played all my cards the turn before, elected not to take a card, and now I have no cards to play for orders? At this point, we are going to be doing what's called regrouping. Your guys are just going to hunker down and try to regroup, get their heads back on straight. In regrouping, you don't give regular orders. All your guys can do is each one of your guys that's pinned can try to rally, or each guy who has a jammed weapon can try to unjam it. That's all they can do. They can't fire, they can't move. They just sit there and kind of regroup, literally. There's another way you can regroup with this hand. If I didn't like my cards, didn't like the way it was going, I'm not under a lot of pressure, I could play a single 0 card for orders. If you do that, you have to discard the rest of your cards, and you get no orders for this turn. You play the whole turn with no orders and regroup. You can try to rally each pinned soldier once. You can try to unjam your weapons, and that's all you can do. Then you will have no cards at the beginning of your next turn, and you will have not played any cards this turn. Therefore, you are eligible to draw an entire new hand. If my hand size is now 5, I would just draw 5 new cards. Try to do that right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I would be unhappy with 2 zeros in my way. The only way to get zeros out of your hand is to discard one as a 0 to regroup, or use it for your initiative. I could play this as an initiative card, which is going to increase my initiative or get me initiative. In this case, I'd be using the 4 column, so that would be a 2. I wouldn't mind using that. I could take a 3 here. So that is that. We've got our orders. So let's say I have my 4 orders. Now the person with the initiative has the option of declaring who goes first, because this is an I go, you go game. We're going to alternate activations. The initiative holder determines who begins this. If you've got your opponent into Zugzwag, you probably want them to go first. If you are keen to get an attack going, or you really need to press toward an objective, you probably want to go first. You make the call if you have initiative. Whoever goes first now goes into the activation sequence where we execute orders. We activate hexes. So let's say I have my 4 orders, and I'm going to put my guys around here. Why not? Let's put Butler over here, and Mr. Anderson over here, and we'll put Foster with him. We'll put Murphy in here and Young over here, and we'll just spread some guys out. And I'm going to have a couple guys out here sharing a hex. Put 3 guys in there, put a guy there, and put 2 guys down here. There. Not anything that resembles tactics. I just want them on the map. When you execute an order, you must pick a hex to activate. Leadership matters. If I pick just this hex out here, yeah, this is a good hex. No, this one. This hex right here. Let's see if I do presentify and do circle 1, this hex. Okay, I activate these guys. I can give them an order. In this game, there are only 4 orders. It sounds simple, but they interact in interesting ways to make this complex. You can either fire, you can hold, you can move, or you can rally. That's the only 4 things you can do. if you give an order to this hex, everybody in that hex is going to get the same order, and they're going to attempt to do it best they can. If these guys get a fire order, they're all going to fire. They don't all have to fire at the same hex. If they all get a move, they all have to move at least one hex. They don't have to move to the same hex, but they all have to move. That's the gist of it if you're out of the range of your leaders. So let's move this guy up one up. Let's get out of Presentify. Let's put Johnson up here. See, his leader range is 3, 1, 2, 3. He can't order these guys if he's here. And this guy's range is 2 down here. 1, 2. They're out of range. So they have to act with their one order. After you've done your hex, your opponent will do a hex, and then it'll come back to you. So let's say that these guys did whatever they're going to do. They're complete. If I order a hex with a leader in it, like up here, I've got Foster in with Johnson with a leadership of 3. I activate this, and I say to this hex, I want you to move. They could all move. But when we activate a hex with a leader, the leader gets free orders. Leaders are powerful. In this case, we get 3 free orders that Johnson can give to anybody within his range of 3. So he can order Foster to do something different than the move. He could say, Foster, you provide some covering fire. You fire. So this guy will fire. I don't think there's a fire marker. But this guy could fire. Or I could tell him to hold fire. He could be moving. He could order Thompson here to do something different. And he could order Murphy to do something different. So with one order, I've actually gotten 4 orders. We got a move, plus we get to do 1, 2, 3 other orders. So we can affect other hexes even though we've only activated 1 hex. Also, you can chain these orders. So if our assistant squad leader, who is subordinate to our squad leader, is in range, Johnson could activate Butler, who's a leader, who can then use his 2 orders to activate Roberts and Young and give them orders. So in theory, even if you only had 1 order to give the first time you get to activate, we could activate this hex. Tell Johnson to do something. He tells Butler to do something. Butler tells these guys to do something, and Johnson also tells these guys to do something. I can activate 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 guys with 1 order in this case. Powerful impulse. Then the German gets to go. And then it comes back to you, and you're out of orders. So then the German gets to continue to do his hex activations without you being able to interject anything, other than you'll still have the opportunity to do reaction fire or opportunity fire if you have cards in your hand. We'll cover all of these things later. So that's the essence of activation. You activate a hex. You give orders. If you have a hex here that has a leader, you can give extra free leadership orders. If you're within range of a leader, let's say that Johnson uses his 3 orders out here, 1, 2, 3. He's used his free orders. So this guy's complete, and this guy's complete, and this guy's complete. I'm just going to delete that. So I activate here. Johnson does his thing. Foster does his thing. He's complete. I'm still within range here for Thompson. I can apply another order, a second order to Thompson, because he's within range within this impulse, or even Murphy. So if we're within range, we can spend more orders to do more things on that particular activation. So you can spend a lot of orders. You could theoretically spend every single one of your orders in a single activation. You have 4 orders. I activate here, I do all that. I activate here my second order, I activate here my third order, and I activate here my fourth order, and now I'm out of orders. Probably not tactically smart, but you can do it. So you can spend a bunch of orders in each activation. Leaders are important because it gives you a range to do individual ordering of soldiers to coordinate the action going on in a particular activation. And they also give you the free orders. And then leaders also improve the abilities of your soldiers as well. So we're executing all of these orders. We're going to go through the details of each of these. In the future, we'll do one video on just firing, one on hold and reaction fire. We'll do one on movement, and we'll do one on rally to cover each of the possible kind of orders and the things that affect. After everybody has executed all their available orders, a random event occurs. Maybe. We draw to see if there's a random event. The person with the initiative, in our case now, it is the American, we won initiative. We go to the action deck and draw for a random event. If there's a symbol here, there's a random event. There's no symbol. No random event this turn. If it looked like, try to get one. Random events, they're in half of them. I'm just being, there we go. Random event. If I do this, there would be a random event. And I would have to draw another card to see what it was. Random event, draw another card, and we read the text. Just another slap to the face. Your opponent may immediately rally a randomly determined pinned unit. So I'd count up his pinned units. Let's say there's 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I say which one is which. I draw a card, look on the 5 column, 4 rallies. That's how that works. If you get a deck symbol, it means reshuffle. So if that was the random event that popped up instead of the question mark, we shuffle the deck. Then we clean up markers. In Vassal, this is easy. When you're playing on the board, there's a little bit of work. What you do is you remove all your complete markers. All these completes get removed. If there's any pins, let's say this guy is pinned, pin 1. And let's say there's some smoke on the board. We don't need prone. Let's delete that. I want some smoke. Place some smoke on the board. So there's some smoke there. And let's put another smoke. There. And let's make this a smoke 2. Alright, at the end of a turn, we would delete the completes. So you just go through and you delete all of the completes. Stay over there. Here, delete our completes. Let's see. We want to get rid of smokes. So any smoke 2s go away. So that would go away. Smoke 1s get converted to smoke 2s. Pinned soldiers. Let's see here. I lost my pin? Let's make this guy pinned. Pin 1 will become pin 2, which is synonymous with prone in a way. They're hunkering down low, let's say. And yeah, that is pretty much it. We remove smoke 2s, smoke 1 goes to 2, pin goes to pin 2, we remove complete, and anybody who's got a hold, if you got hold fire, you can choose to keep the hold on or to take the hold off. People who have a hold fire are locked into only firing in the future. They're set up for opportunity fire. They're going to ambush somebody. Once that is done, it's the end of the turn. You advance your turn marker. If it's the last turn, you check for your victory conditions. If you reach your break limit during play at any point, the game immediately ends. So in our scenario card here, we have break numbers. If the Germans lose 6 or more, the second they lose 6 soldiers through routing or KIAs, they lose immediately. 8 for the Americans. If they're in melee and they simultaneously reach their break, you check your victory conditions. And really that's it. You just advance your turn marker. And you play another turn. You go back to the beginning and you determine your hand size. If your hand size is now 2, now let's say 3, because out on the board here, let's say my hand size is 3 because my squad leader got pinned. So if my squad leader, I've lost him, he's in here somewhere. Let's take this off, maybe he's here. That's my assistant squad leader. I think he's hiding up here. If this guy got pinned, now my hand size is 2 plus 1 is 3. If I'm holding 4 cards and my hand size is 3, I'm not allowed to draw any cards. You just have to move on. That's really it. If you've played a card in the previous turn, you may take 1 card. If you've not played any cards in the previous turn, you must fill your hand to its hand size. You can play a 0 or have 0 cards in your hand and declare that you want to regroup. You bid for the number of orders you want, up to and including 6. It's I go, you go. There are only 4 orders to play. You're either firing, moving, rallying, or holding for opportunity fire. And we're going to go in more detail on all those in the future. That's really the overall sequence of play and how orders are handled. It's not that complicated, and it's actually kind of pleasant to play. Hope you found this interesting, and I will come back to you next time, and we're going to talk about line of sight. See you then.